What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of From the Hill, Tuesday, December 19th. We're going to do a little NFL reflection, but the big part of the show is going to be at the end here. So I got a request last night to do a segment and got a little twist we're going to throw in there. So I really highly suggest everybody hang on till the end of the show here, the video, to catch a surprise. I'm really excited about it. So hopefully you guys saw the video on Sunday because Swags went 2-1 on his NFL picks for the second straight week. So if you're paying attention, you made a couple checks. Let's start here with the obvious. If you're watching the video, my appearance. So a lot of people have been complaining that every time I do these videos, I'm wearing my sweater vest. So we're going to get that out of the way right now. Vest off. Here we go. Let's start with the NFL Sunday reactions. So the Lions and Cowboys keep themselves alive in the NFC playoffs. Cowboys actually looking like they have an outside shot. We're not sure if that game's going to mean anything for the Eagles, and Zeke comes back for them next week. So they've got an outside shot, but both the Lions and Cowboys are going to need help as the Falcons hung on to beat the Bucs. So they're hanging on to their slot. And the Packers pretty much got eliminated from the playoffs, if not officially got eliminated in that loss to the Panthers. So both Panthers and Falcons win to stay in. The Rams blew out the Seahawks. So, so the playoffs as they stood last week are still the same in the NFC. Quick spot about the Packers-Panthers game. So Rodgers came back for that game, right? We talked about that. And he looked rusty. He didn't look bad, but that's a tough spot for Rodgers, right? I mean, he's coming back off of a broken collarbone, and he's getting asked to get thrown into the wolves, basically, right? I mean, Carolina has a great defense, and the entirety of the season rested on them getting a win. He didn't look awful, but he also didn't look sharp. So I suggest, and there's sort of already been talk about this, that they just shut Rodgers down for the rest of the year. I don't see any reason to keep playing him, right? I mean, their playoff hopes are done, and he needs to fully recover for next year. So that's where I would go. Eagles got to win. As I talked about Sunday, I'm not going to overreact to this game or underreact. Foles threw for 4 touchdowns. He looked decent. He didn't look great, but he didn't look bad either. And Eli threw the ball 57 times, right? The Giants scored some points on our defense. I would have liked to have seen the Eagles defense play better, but at the same time, again, I'm not going to overreact because this is a division game. Eli's had his best 2 games of the year against the Eagles defense. That could be familiarity, right? There's just so many things that go into that in these division games. Again, back to the whole Dolphins blew out the Patriots and Cutler looked like a Pro Bowler last Monday night. So that's just the way it goes in these division games. So I'm not overreacting. But again, Eagles get the win and stay on top of the NFC playoff picture. Let's talk about the AFC. And I'm going to start with the Jaguars. Blake fucking Bortles. What is going on? So the Jaguars blast the Texans 45-7. I'm going to read you Bortles' numbers, and then I really want to talk about a reaction after the games. It's almost becoming the joke on top of the joke that just to blast Blake Bortles, right? So Bortles goes 21 of 29 for 326 and 3 touchdowns against the Texans. Let me give you his numbers the previous 2 weeks. The Jags have gone 3-0. So 3 weeks ago, they blow out the Colts. He goes 26-35, 309, 2 touchdowns. And then last week or 2 weeks ago, they win over the Seahawks, right, which was a big game. 18 of 27, 268, 2 touchdowns. Notice 3 games, 8 touchdowns, 0 picks. So something that I found funny was this happened 2 weeks ago after the Seattle game, right, where some of the Seahawks players were trashing Bortles, even though he beat them. This week, they're interviewing Jadeveon Clowney, right, Texans star or supposed star in the making, right, defensive end. And the question comes, well, how about Blake Bortles? And he had a one-word response. Trash. Trash, huh? He just torched you guys 45 points, destroyed your defense, and he's trash? I don't know. Look, I'm not here to tell you that Blake Bortles is a good quarterback, but listen, the Jaguars have a world-class caliber defense, right? A Super Bowl caliber defense. So when we talked about what team could maybe challenge the Patriots or the Steelers, it looks like Jacksonville may be that team in the AFC. So we'll see. Speaking of Patriots Steelers, here we go. Begin rant. That was a great game, right? Probably the biggest game of the NFL season so far in terms of implications. And the end of the game was an absolute travesty. So this isn't the first time that we've dealt with that, but it's amazing to me. Now, let me start by saying I had the Patriots minus 2.5, and they ended up winning the game by 3. So the outcome actually was not unfavorable to me, but I watched the game live, and this is just getting outrageous. Why can't the NFL actually decide what a catch is or isn't? Okay? We're going back to the Calvin Johnson play against the Bears in the end zone, the Dez Bryant playoff game against the Packers, and now it's the Jesse James, the Steelers tight end. The guy catches the ball, turns for the goal line, makes a football move, reaches the ball out. It breaks the plane, which to me is instantly a touchdown. But then as he goes to the ground, his elbow hits the ground first and the ball sort of moves. And they say that he didn't control the ball to the ground through the catch. Incomplete. 2 plays later, Steelers throw a pick. Game over. Patriots win. We'll probably now end up with home field. But in reality, the Steelers scored a touchdown to take the lead with 50 seconds left, and that's how the game should have went. The irony of this is that we implement all these new procedures and we're bringing technology into the game to get all these replays in, and it's making what's a catch worse. I think in a lot of ways, replay has been great. It's sort of inevitable, right? Because for years in the late 90s, when telecasts started getting better and we had all these replays, you would be sitting in your living room saying, well, why is it that we're seeing this play and we're going to have an instant replay and then the guys on the field can't see it and they clearly got the call wrong. So you knew that eventually replay was going to get instituted, and I feel like they've done a good job with it. But the one thing that they haven't is what is a catch and what isn't, because even with replay, they're clearly still getting it wrong. And by the letter of the law, they're not getting it wrong. But watch the game real time. It's played by humans and refereed by humans, and that was a catch. Okay, end rant. That rant segment was brought to you by, well, I can't find it. The hell with it. And now, the segment we've all been waiting for. So, a bunch of folks were talking last night. The Philadelphia 76ers are a huge deal right now, right? It's been years and years of we're trusting the process, and it's been this buildup. And, like last week, ESPN followed the Sixers guys around for the day before their game with Oklahoma City, which was a great triple overtime thriller, right? The Sixers are getting a lot of pub, and their young players are all over the place, right? I mean, Joel Embiid is sort of trolling the NBA. Ben Simmons is like by far the leading vote or odds makers to win the Rookie of the Year in Vegas, right? So, and they're playing pretty well, but they've recently had some late game struggles. The reason this segment is going to be so special is because who I'm bringing in now, this man here who's going to have this conversation with us, he is on the phone with me live. This gentleman is a true patriot. He's a good friend of mine, and he is coming to us from Florida, which he's going to tell us all about. On the line with me, a major in the United States Marine Corps, William Getz. Mr. Billy G, how are you, sir?
Hey, Swaggy, thanks for taking my call. Long-time listener. I love the channel. Wish you the best in 2018. I think you guys got a lot of potential. So congratulations on that, and I hope things continue to go well for you. Real quick.
Well, Billy, let me stop you there real quick. I want to just say, from everybody, obviously it goes without saying, but it needs to be said. We appreciate your service and everything you do for us. What you do lets me do this dumb video, right? And all that stuff. So from everybody that watches and just everybody that knows you and doesn't, we thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. We greatly appreciate the support, and that kind of leads me. And I have one comment and then one question for you, Swaggy, this afternoon. And the first comment kind of dovetails off of what you were saying. So last year I missed Christmas. I was away, I was deployed overseas to East Africa. But this Christmas, I'm fortunate enough to be home, and gratefully, grateful to be home, at least in the United States. I'll be making my way back up to Philadelphia this weekend. So I'm very thankful for those that are forward deployed. A lot of women and men that are in harm's way right now that allow us to enjoy Christmas this year. But I got to say, my passion bucket is pretty full right now for this young Sixers team. However, that being said, it's really frustrating. And the frustration for me really starts with one J.J. Redick. We have a Christmas Day game. You couldn't ask for more. This team's exciting. Yeah, they lost to OKC, but it was a great game. However, if we go back to the OKC game, J.J. Redick, the guy brought in for the long ball, Mr. Clutch, non-existent. Frankly, I think he's not living up to his potential. We look at the Chicago game last night. Again, turnovers late, not clutch, shooting late. And in Philadelphia, if you don't do your job for what you're getting paid for, frankly, you get ridden out of town. And I almost think it's time, even though this guy has only been here for a short duration. But that leads me to my question for you, Swaggy, is right now we know J.J. Redick's on a one-year deal. In my opinion, he's not living up to his potential with the team. He looks washed up, frankly. Do the Sixers pursue J.J. Redick and offer him a 2 to 3 year deal to continue to compete with this young squad, or do we let him go at the end of this season?
All right. So, Billy, you said a lot there, and let's tackle it all, okay? And let's start with what I think actually is the problem with the team, and then that will lead me into what I think is going on with Redick and everybody else. So let's start with what I'm seeing actually is the problem with the team. First off, I think it's great that we're super excited about the Sixers because the team is exciting. But what's happened to all of us, right, is a combination of two things. The first is that this team is winning, I think, before we expected them to, right? I think they're a better team right now than we thought they would even be at this point in the season. And so what that's done for us is it has now led us to increased expectations for this team. And I think yourself, myself, and the rest of the Sixers fans, we expect this team to make the Eastern Conference playoffs in the 6, 7, or 8 seed, and maybe even knock off a team like a Toronto or a Washington in a 7-game series, or at least take it deep. And what we're seeing recently, right, to your point, and Oklahoma City obviously is struggling right now, but there's a lot of talent on the team. But what we're seeing with losses to the Bulls, and teams that we would perceive as lesser teams than us, is we're seeing an inability to close. And let's break that down even further, right? Right, that's right. Inability to close games out, right? And we saw it, to your point, against Oklahoma City. Redick gets a shot blocked. Last night against Chicago, bad turnover late from Redick, right? But let's break down what's going on here. So when I look at these games, what I'm seeing is because of the current makeup of the team, they're missing that guy, that one guy who at the guard position or at the ball handling position who is going to, when it's game on the line and you need a bucket, is the give him the ball and go get me a bucket guy, right? When you look at that team, a lot of times, and use that Oklahoma City game as an example, down the stretch or in those overtimes, it was Joel Embiid getting those buckets, right? They were running the offense through Joel. To your point, Redick, who, of course, on a one-year deal, his contract is very lucrative, so he's making a lot of money, and he came in here to be a productive scorer. What I think's happening to the team is Ben Simmons is your primary ball handler. We're seeing that reluctance to take a shot. The defense against him now is let's take a step back, let's make him take a jump shot or fouling him, right, because he's currently struggling at the line. So what you've got is you've got an oversized point guard almost out of position at this point, Ben, handling the ball, and they're trying to run a play for essentially what it's been Redick the last couple times run a play for, and what J.J. Redick,
what he's here for?
Well, that's where I'm going. Nope, and you're right to a certain extent, I think, but that's where I'm going. See, I don't personally think that Redick was brought in to be that guy. I think he was brought in to be that spot-up shooter who can spread the floor for you when you've got JoJo and Dario and Ben, and then eventually Markelle when he gets back, right? You need that guy who can get to the corner when these guys are driving and can kick out to and can make that set shot. I don't see him as being a go-to guy in the clutch who's going to get you a three. He can get it if someone drives and it's a kick out to him, right? But in the OKC game, they ran that play for him, right? They ran that high screen and roll with Joel, and he gets his shot blocked because I see him as pressing the same way right now. I think you would agree with this. I see Robert Covington pressing, right? These guys, Redick and Covington, are trying to fill up the scoring line, I think, more than they expected they were going to have to. And I think that's what the problem is early. Right now, right, what we're going to need to see from Ben, and don't get me wrong, I'm not being critical of Ben at all. Everybody knows how big of a Ben Simmons fan I am. But he is eventually, at some point, going to have to develop more of an offensive game than just that 10-foot floater or the dunk and layup, right? He's going to have to develop some sort of at least mid-range jump shot because teams are just begging him to shoot right now.
Sure, yeah, they can isolate him more. But I think, the Sixers have enough young talent that they can really be a dynamic team when you have Embiid and you look at how well Covington's playing. But you also have J.J. Redick, who I think is, even if he's not Mr. Clutch, he's still underperforming. So do the Sixers, bring it back to my question, do the Sixers get rid of him and look for another guy? Or do we hold on to this guy and just hope for the best?
So here's what I think. I think it's too early to tell, right? I think that what we're really going to have to see, ideally what was supposed to be the backcourt this year was Fultz and Redick. So we're going to have to see when Fultz comes back how much he's ball handling, how much that frees up JJ. At the end of the year, it's really going to come down to what was his shooting percentage, how does he fit with the team, and then what's his price tag going to be for 2 to 3 years, right? Because essentially, I could see the front office offering him another 1-year deal. Is he going to be willing to take that to stay here? That's the question. But I think really the answer to your question is it's a little too early to tell. I mean, we are still fairly early into the season, right? So I think it's going to have to play out more to see whether or not JJ comes back next year.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we'll see what we have to offer here. I just hope he shows up the second half of the season, and especially on Christmas Day. It's been a while since the Sixers have found themselves in the spotlight like that. So hopefully he can come through for us and get us a win.
I agree. Looking forward to Christmas Day, primetime game against the Unicorn in New York, right? Oh, Porzingis. So that should be that's right. That's right. It's a Christmas present. It's a unicorn from Latvia.
Appreciate you taking the call, Swaggy. Again, good luck with the channel. Last thing I'll leave you with. Now I know we were talking Sixers basketball, but just to go back on your Patriots and Steelers comments earlier.
Sure. Yeah.
Not to go on a long rant or anything there. Just put my 2 cents in.
Go for it.
Right call, bad rule. That's the bottom line.
Absolutely
right,
correct.
It's just a bad rule.
Correct. That is absolutely correct. And let me ask you this, to that point, right, with it being a bad rule, if this was 15 years ago, that's a catch, right? Because it got ruled a catch. That's catch.
100%. Mark Farmer said the same thing on the Dan Patrick show.
That's it.
100% a catch.
100% a catch.
Years ago, you just have, you commented on it, you hit the nail on the head. Replay has certainly influenced the game. It's just a question of whether it's for better or for worse.
That's right. And I think most of the time it's for better. But in these cases, right, these are the glaring 3 to me. That play, that Dez Bryant game, and look, we hate the Cowboys, right? But Dez Bryant caught that ball going into the end zone against the Packers in the playoffs, and they win that game. He caught that ball. So, again, bad rule, but the right call.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the NFL with their catch process these days. But there's only one process that I'm trusting right now, and that's 76ers.
That's right. That is right. All right, Billy. Well, as always.
Happy holidays to you, my friend.
Too. Pleasure speaking with you.
In 2018.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care.
Billy. Take care. There he is, the great Major Billy G, checking in from Florida. He actually didn't get into it. I think he was waiting and itching to get his hot take out there and talk about the Sixers, but he was telling me it's 85 and sunny down there in Florida. I mean, it's a nice day up here, but not like that. But I want to thank Bill for reaching out and hopping on. And again, as always, thank all of y'all who are listening, watching the video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up, give us a subscription. We've got a big show coming up here this weekend. It will be myself with the Prof again for From the Hill. We're going to be on remote in a super secret location, so you guys are really going to want to check that out. But yeah, I'm not going to belabor those points anymore. Leave your comments in the section. By the way, we still did not have a winner to the trivia question, but one thing I wanted to say about that is I'm really impressed with everybody's honesty. You guys that know me know I've got a ton of awesome trivia questions that I want to throw out. And I love to just do research and pull them up. This one, because of one or two players, I thought was pretty tricky. And I've had a bunch of listeners, text me or text into the show and say that they missed one, but they weren't cheating. They weren't going to Google it, because we all know that Googling these messages, getting answers, it ruins them. So I appreciate everybody not cheating, but that question is still out there. So if anybody wants to go back and can get an answer on it, then go ahead and give it a shot. And feel free to text me. I will tell you who it is. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. Swaggy out.